Now that we have this schedule, we are one step closer to Blues hockey. But hey, there's a couple of games that I have my eye on.
Hey, this is Braden Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I am going to talk to you about the schedule. That is right. The schedule was dropped today for the 2025-2026 NHL season. A few games have me excited. A few games have me, of course, nervous. But overall, I cannot wait for the Blues to have a successful season and go back to the playoffs and hopefully win the first round this time. We have a lot to talk about today on today's episode of Locked On Blues, but first, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So yes, today the Blues did release their schedule, their full schedule for the 2025-2026 regular season. And let me just say this. The Blues will open the season against the Minnesota Wild on October 9th at Enterprise. Does that make me nervous? Absolutely. For whatever reason, Minnesota is one of those teams that just has me nervous whenever we play them. Besides them, of course, being our Central Division rivals, they also have a lot of talent on that team. And for me, I just hope that the Blues can go into that game with the same momentum that they had in the playoffs against Winnipeg at home. So I'm hoping, keyword hoping, that the Blues find success. The Blues will be playing a total of 26 Central Division games. Obviously, the 4 matchups against Chicago, Dallas, Nashville, Utah, and Winnipeg. And the remainder of the schedule includes 24 games against specific teams and a home set with each of the 16 teams out east. One thing that I will say about the Blues' schedule as we continue to dive into it a little bit more is that I like what they do for when the Blues go to the East Coast. For me, I always find that part of the schedule, that leg of the schedule, to be a hit or miss. And there's a few teams that I feel like the Blues match up really well against in the East. But overall, the Blues are just such a better team than they were a year ago, which makes me even more excited. But a couple of games, obviously, that I want to talk to you about is opening night, obviously. We're going to be tuning into that one October 9th versus Minnesota. By the way, just to give you a little bit of a heads up, there is going to be an Olympic break from February 5th to the 25th. Why do I bring that up? Because we might be watching Robert Thomas, Colton Parayko, Jordan Binnington, Texier, Dvorsky, so many different guys on our team might have the opportunity to play in the Olympics. So we want to be able to watch them and support them. And what better way to do so than having a nice little Olympic break where we're able to watch our guys play. But let's talk about the schedule, right? Because that's what we're all really here for right now. And this is something for me where I am extremely excited because, yes, we have preseason. And while preseason, it's great, it's hockey. We get to see some of the younger guys that might be with the Thunderbirds. For me, it is all about this regular season hockey. As I stated, October 9th, Minnesota. Then the Blues are on the road for a 3 o'clock puck drop against the Flames. They're on the road again for the Canucks. So those 3 games within itself are going to be, in my opinion, challenging. I'm not going to go over every single game, but the reason why I bring this up specifically is because the Blues need to start off the season strong. When you have 3 different teams that are all very good teams, you need to bring your A game. Don't forget, Calgary's going to have a lot of momentum heading into that game, considering, one, it's in Calgary, and two, the Blues became the second wildcard team, and Rob did a good way, in my opinion, Calgary making it to the playoffs. So I feel like that game's going to be a lot of anticipation. The second home game for the Blues will be October 15th against the Chicago Blackhawks. And then on the 18th, they're hosting the Stars. So again, really big games off the bat, which is why October has me actually a little bit nervous. I don't know if you would consider this like a big deal. Considering that Utah was a club, obviously, for a couple seasons now. However, on the 23rd, it is going to be the first time the Mammoth come to town, now that they officially named them. So for me, I feel as if that is a game worth noting. We're going to move on to November, Monday, November 3rd, 7:30. Get ready because it's the Edmonton Oilers. For me, this is a game that I'm going to find to be entertaining. One, because I think Edmonton has one of the most toxic fan bases in the NHL. And two, because I feel as if we're going to see just some really good hockey on hockey. You have McDavid and Draisaitl, by the way, who were playing in beer league hockey, and they found themselves down 4-0. So I know that's irrelevant. I just wanted to put that shade out there. But that is going to be a good game. Then on the 14th, Haley, November 14th. Why is this a big deal? Because it is the Flyers and Blues, and you all know I cover the Flyers too at this point. So for me, that is a big game. It's at home, back-to-back, because in the next game at home is against the VGK. Now, this is a game that I was actually considering flying out for because I love back-to-backs. It makes it worth traveling to because, again, don't forget St. Louis. It's about a couple hour plane ride, couple $100+ It's not easy to get to all the time. You know what? I actually might try to fly out to that. Hold on. I'm going to look up the prices really fast and then I'm going to get back. So I'm going to go somewhere. You're going to continue watching. I need to check this out now. Okay, I'm actually going to book a flight, so just give me 1 second. Okay, well, I'm in the process of booking it, but it does look like I will be out in St. Louis on November 14th for the Flyers game and November 15th for the Golden Knights game. I'm so excited. And this was not even impulsive, but yeah. So anyways, those two games. So they're going to have some significance to me. I think this is actually so funny. Anyways, let's continue on. On the 20th, they come to Philadelphia. So obviously I'll do some Blues coverage out in Philadelphia. Now there is a couple of games though that do have back-to-back. So if it looks like I'll be going to those two games, but if not, I'll find another sort of back-to-back games to go out to the Lou for if I can find even a cheaper flight. Anyways, we're going to look ahead to December. Nothing too crazy catches my eye. We have the 17th hosting the Winnipeg Jets. For whatever reason, I guess there's now beef with us and the Jets, even though the Jets were the better team, but I don't like Connor Hellebuck. Like, I don't know. I'm sure that game's going to be momentous, right? We have a lot of back-to-back games this season. Another set of back-to-back games is Friday at 2, January 2nd, and then January 3rd at 3. The second is VGK, and the third is the Montreal Canadiens. Then we continue on and on. We're hosting the Stanley Cup, defending Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers, on the 29th. So that is January 29th. We're going to look ahead to February. Not too many games as we do have the Olympic break. So on the 2nd, we are at Nashville. On the 4th, we are at Dallas. Then we have the break from the 5th to the 25th. Then on the 26th, first game post-break will be against the Seattle Kraken at home here at Enterprise. We're going to look at March now for some more games. A game that I have circled down for an important game will be Friday, March 6th, and that is at San Jose. I feel as if the Blues and the Sharks match up not that great. So for me, this is a must-win game. Another game that I also have down is the 13th, we're hosting the Edmonton Oilers. Again, a game that's going to be challenging because following Edmonton, we also are going to Calgary and then going to the Canucks. So those games, those Canadian teams, always a problem. But do not fret. We still have more San Jose. We have 3 games against the Sharks, by the way, in March. On the 26th, we're hosting San Jose, 7 o'clock here at Enterprise. And then on the 30th, we're at San Jose for another 9 o'clock puck drop. So that's a lot of Sharks. And then, of course, April. Nothing too crazy. Obviously, you're going to want to win some games in April, depending on where you're at standing-wise. But a game that I have down, again, is the 9th, April 9th, hosting the Jets. The 13th of April, hosting the Wild. Why do I have those 2 games down? Because those are important games. I mean, yes, you could make the case that the Avalanche on the 7th is an important game. But for me, like, games that have significance always kind of dictate, at least to me, that they're not going to be so much of like an easy win. Like, I could say that maybe Friday the 3rd, easy win against the Ducks. I could say the same thing about Saturday the 11th, easy win against the Blackhawks. However, the games that I have mentioned will not be easy wins. And then finally, on April 16th, it is the final game of the season, which is so crazy to think about how fast the seasons go. But that's what it comes down to. I actually like this schedule, okay? I think that this is actually a pretty solid schedule. And I'm going to talk more about the schedule, right? Because I have some thoughts. I have some things that are just going through my head when reading the schedule to all of you. But first, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Gametime. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. When I am tired of endlessly scrolling through my phone to find the best deal, well, Gametime Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. And if you ever wonder what your view is going to look like, well, don't worry. Don't fret. Don't worry. Don't fret. How many times can I say that? A million times. Because with Gametime, they allow you to see the view from your seat before you even buy the ticket. Yeah. Okay. Like, that is a level. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I am so excited for Blues hockey. Obviously, I went on a whole little tangent about how I'm going to buy tickets to St. Louis. Listen, I love, maybe this is a personal preference, that there's a lot of back-to-back games, because for people that live out of state, it gives us, a little bit more of an opportunity to see the Blues in action. Sometimes when there's just one singular game and then you don't have a game for 3 days later at home, it makes it a little bit tough time to time. But for me personally, I really like that there is a good amount of back-to-back games. One thing that I find to be interesting is that there are 16 total home games on Friday and Saturday nights, 6 on Friday and 10 on Saturday. So for me, I love the weekend games, always a fun time. The season starts with 7 of 11 of the games in October at Enterprise at home, 5 Saturday home games, and of course, the puck drop time that we love. We have a 6 o'clock puck drop time. We have the first rematch of the playoffs, as I mentioned, December 17th against Winnipeg. The Blackhawks visit the Blues on October 15th and December 12th. We have different 4-game homestands. We host the Stanley Cup champions January 29th, again, Florida. And then the final regular season home game is April 14th versus the Penguins. And then the final game of the season is April 16th at Utah. So yes, it is going to be a jam-packed schedule. A schedule, in my opinion, that is going to be challenging. Obviously, February, very, very light due to the Olympic break. But again, I am so excited for the possibility of certain guys on the Blues having the opportunity to represent their countries. So for me, that is something that I am looking forward to. But this is a schedule that is going to be, in my opinion, harder than last season. Last season, in my opinion, the Blues had a relatively good start. I mean, we call them the comeback kids, right? And things kind of just went a little bit downhill. But right now, you're going to be looking at a healthy Robert Thomas, a healthy Dylan Holloway. Obviously, we don't have some guys on the Blues that we had last season, like a Ryan Suter. We have a P.A. Suter, but not a Ryan Suter. We have a Suter. That's all what kind of matters, right? We have a Suter. But all in all, we have Mayhew potentially making the team. So there's a lot of good. Now, what I will say is that the Central Division, again, my opinion, but is the toughest division in the NHL. You can make the argument that the Metropolitan might be the most, I don't want to say easiest division, but the division that isn't as strong. Atlantic, pretty solid division. Pacific, again, a lot of good teams, but it's split 50-50. The Central Division, that is going to be a tough one. But it is okay because luckily for the Blues, as I stated, they have only gotten better. And that, to me, makes me more hopeful and excited about the upcoming season. I think last year, the ultimate goal was to be wild card 2. This year, it's maybe wild card 1. And the reason why I'm saying the expectations as low as I am is just due to how tough this Central Division is. I wouldn't be saying the same thing if the Blues were in any of the other divisions. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. But to me, the Central is scary. The first game being against the Wild, yeah, that has me nervous. I want the Blues to be on the right note, no pun intended, to start the season. I want a win. I want the Blues to be upset about how last year ended. Yes, they should be proud. They made it to the playoffs. That was a huge accomplishment, and I am not taking that away. If anything, I applaud them. But what I don't applaud is the 17 last-minute goals let in during the regular season last year. And a last-minute goal that was let in, a last-second goal, actually, that was let in, which forced that Game 7 to go to overtime, and then eventually a double OT, which then the Jets won. The Blues have to work on certain things. And letting in last-minute goals, well, that's something that this team needs to drastically improve on. Because in the Central Division, you can't allow those mistakes to happen and expect for the other teams to maybe not hold up their end of the bargain. It's not only a huge, huge physical division, but it's a fast division and a high-scoring division. The Blues need to be on their A game immediately. So yes, preseason, important. However, I don't want the Blues to waste any energy, and I want them to really focus on that game against the Wild and start the season off on the right note. But there is something about the season ahead that just doesn't feel like Blues hockey to me. and I want to talk to you about it. But before I do so, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier with Monarch Money? It can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So, in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. When I was going through all my budgeting and my finances, I found myself going through a million different websites and apps. And let me tell you, it was overwhelming. But with Monarch Money, they make it so easy to have everything in one app, and it made my life easier. It actually helped me save more money. And for me, I felt like I was actually finally in control. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. When I'm thinking about the season ahead, I feel as if it's not complete because it's something that I talked about yesterday on Locked On Blues, John Kelly. I have a really difficult time comprehending how selfish the move was to fire the legendary John Kelly. Not only is it an insult to John Kelly, it's an insult to his late father, Dan Kelly. It's an insult to the Kelly family and Kelly name and all that they did for the Blues' organization. I watch a lot of Blues games on TV because I live out of state. So that's how I watch my Blues hockey. And it hit me when I was looking at the schedule today, it hit me hard. I'm not going to be hearing John Kelly's voice. I'm not going to be seeing John Kelly. John Kelly will not be a part of the 2025-2026 Blues. And that makes me angry. It makes me upset and disappointed. And most importantly, it makes me feel like it's incomplete. I never had a thought that crossed my mind about them firing John Kelly, not renewing his contracts. Let's say it how it is. It's still being fired, right? He didn't want to leave. They weren't willing to pay. I feel like it's going to be really weird, and I don't like it. No Blues fan, no true Blues fan is happy about what happened. And I was a little bit surprised. I was that not only that they made this decision and they approved of the decision, but after they saw how the fans felt after the fact, they didn't reconsider, hey, maybe this is a bad idea. And for that reason alone, I get really frustrated. Not even just frustrated, I get angry. Like there's a lot of emotions that come to my mind when it comes to the St. Louis Blues and all that happened. Because let me go say it for how it is. Blues hockey is the Kelly name. Okay? There's a reason why on every single post the Blues have made since firing John Kelly, that there's comments all about bringing back John Kelly and calling out the team. And I agree with all of the comments because at the end of the day, yes, I understand. Money, huge part of decision making. But at the end of the day, when you are letting go of such a legendary voice and a legendary name, it's disheartening. It's really disappointing. And as I'm scrolling through all of the posts, right? And I'm looking to see, oh, maybe this, maybe that. It's all about John Kelly. Everybody wants John Kelly back. Somebody says, does John Kelly have to buy a ticket? And I kind of laughed to myself, like not like a ha 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 laugh, but a, well, yeah, because the organization showed how cheap they were by not bringing him back. Again, I am not trying to be disrespectful. I am not trying to be rude to the organization. I'm not. Because I am a Blues fan. I'm still going to support the Blues. The players had nothing to do with this decision. You can't be mad at them. It's the ownership. Stillman's, okay. That has me angry. But at the end of the day, it's so weird knowing that the Kelly name will not be involved with the broadcast. And that's what I'm going to say. And I won't stop talking about it because he did not deserve that. So on that note, I'm excited for the season ahead. I love the Blues and I'm very optimistic about what's to come, but I can't lie and deny that I am still very much annoyed and upset about what the Blues did to John Kelly. I will talk to you tomorrow, and like always, let's go Blues.